Order. We start with questions. Secretary of State for Science, Innovation and Technology, Patrick Hurley.
Question number 1, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I congratulate the honourable gentleman for getting on the order paper twice today? I think it'd be a good day for him to buy a lottery ticket. But I can assure him that the new digital centre exists to serve departments and the wider public sector. GDS enables departments to deliver digital public services that work for everyone.
Patrick Hurley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good public services are dependent on reliable and easily accessible and available underlying data, such as postal addresses. However, address data is complex and expensive for UK businesses to access. Given the importance of this data to public sector and public service delivery and economic growth, will the Minister commit to reviewing the terms under which UK address data is made available to support growth?
He raises a very important point. Following the privatisation of Royal Mail in 2014, the postcode address file, the definitive list of UK postal addresses, became privately owned data asset. He will note that this afternoon we have the second reading of the data bill. This is going to be a great step forward when it comes to use of data, both in the public and the private sector. And also he'll note that we have the commitment to creating the National Data Library, which will use data in a radically new way for the benefit of the country and public sector users.
Sir Oliver Dowden.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm sure the Secretary of State will agree with me that people want their public services to be delivered efficiently and effectively. To that end, what discussions has he and his department had with the Department of Government Efficiency and Elon Musk in the United States about how we can harness the power of AI, both to deliver better services, but also to scrutinise government spending and government data sets to eliminate waste and inefficiency?
I think the honourable gentleman has been asleep at the wheel since the election, not just when he was in government. This is the government that brought in the Office of Regulatory Innovation, now up and running, piloting 4 areas to get innovation through the regulatory landscape without delay. This is the government which has brought in the digital, the gov.uk app, which will be delivered in June, the digital wallet and the digital driving licence, and a suite of productivity services already being deployed in the public sector, none of which his government was doing, all of which this government is doing now.
Chair of the Select Committee, Onwurah.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And the government's determination to embrace AI to transform public services and pull through procurement opportunities for British businesses is much to be welcomed. But many public service users and others may have been concerned at the government's failure to sign the Paris AI Summit Declaration, which sought to ensure AI is open, inclusive, transparent, ethical, safe, secure and trustworthy. A government spokesperson said there were concerns about progress on global governments and national security. Could he elaborate on that?
I'm very grateful to the Honourable Lady, the Chair of the Select Committee. She raises an important point. Let's just focus on what we did achieve in Paris. We signed the Joint Coalition for Sustainable AI launched at the summer, to be launched this summer. We signed that this week. We joined the initial group for countries and multilateral organisations kicking off the collaborative network of AI observatories on work. We co-sealed the statement on cybersecurity for France, have also launched this week. And we signed a statement on AI, gender and part of the global partnership on action on gender-based online harassment and abuse. A lot was achieved this week, but we will always put the national interest first, and you'll notice full well that this government puts national security first, an issue that we wanted to raise at the summit, which prevented us from signing the overall agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I just start? Obviously, the Minister, thank him for his answer, but when it comes to access to public service, one of the things that bugs me, bugs my constituents, bugs the honourable member's constituents, is access to GP appointments. Not only you phone to 8:30 in the morning. So can I ask the Minister this question? What provision or what progress into booking online GP appointments to ensure constituents are not forced to wait on a phone line each morning to see a doctor when they need a doctor right away? Thank you.
As always, I'm very grateful for the exchanges we have in this House, which are always constructive. Of course, this is part of the legacy that we have inherited from the failed Tory government of over 14 years. But I can assure him that just today we are having second reading of the data bill, which will force different parts of the NHS to finally start communicating with themselves and have data that is interoperable and being used in the interests of health patients.
Shadow Minister Dr Ben Spencer.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. His plans to improve government services depend on the cloud. In light of the CMA's decision to assess whether Amazon Web Services and Microsoft should be designated as having strategic market status in cloud service provision, what decisions has he made regarding the approach to current and future government procurement of cloud services?
Well, obviously I can't comment on the CMA as an independent regulator. What I can say that this government, via the AI Opportunities Action Plan, has committed to fully investing in AI infrastructure so that we can have a sovereign AI infrastructure here, and we can have data which is stored here, processed here, and creating jobs and wealth in this country.
Point 2.
Question number 2, Mr Speaker.
We've already spent £4 million on projects in his constituency, including 88,000 spent with Sylvie Bio Limited. I'm very proud of the fact that we've been able to commit to it in 2025-2026 to a record amount of money, £20.4 billion for research and development.
I thank the Minister for that answer. In the Livingston constituency, we have a number of fantastic biotech and life sciences businesses, such as Valneva, who are working on a range of vaccines, including malaria, and Silvio Bio, as the Minister mentioned, working on sustainable alternatives to peat. Now, can I ask, though, the Minister, given the failure and neglect of the Conservative Government and the SNP Scottish Government in the biotech and life sciences industry, what conversations is he having with the Scottish Government to make sure that we can create an environment which biotech and life sciences can thrive in Livingston constituency and right across Scotland?
Well, actually, Livingston is a remarkable example of where investment can make a significant difference. And I'm really pleased that the Chief Executive of Sylvie Bio recently received an award for Women's Innovation in Science. He's absolutely right. The Innovation Accelerator projects in Glasgow and across the whole of Scotland need the integration between the Westminster Government and the Holyrood Government to be really successful. But that's precisely what we're determined to do. And of course, he also had, in October last year, another £4 million investment in Livingston from Merck, which makes them one of the biggest investors in Scotland.
Martin Wrigley.
Question number 3, please, Mr Speaker.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Google's Willow announcement is one of several important milestones achieved by companies developing quantum computers in recent months, globally and here in the UK. The announcement does not change our policy to maintain UK leadership across a range of quantum computing platforms.
Martin Wrigley.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Learning from the Y2K successful prevention of systems failures, what progress has the Secretary of State made in considering post-quantum cryptography to prevent the so-called Y2Q, the end of privacy? And what support is being provided for the development of quantum computing in the UK after the recent announcement of the Willow chip?
I'm grateful for this question. He'll know full well that there are breakthroughs in quantum happening all the time. These are often breakthroughs which are happening because of the scientific endeavours happening in our country, for which we should be proud. When it comes to encryption, government has a set of policies to actually make sure that our systems and our country is prepared for the challenges and opportunities of the quantum era, and those policies remain active as we speak. When it comes to investment in quantum, I was up in Glasgow announcing not so long ago £100 million for 5 quantum hubs. This is the kind of investment you can expect from this government to keep our country at the cutting edge.
Foodie.
Question number 4, please, Mr Speaker.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, no one anywhere in the UK should have difficulty using government services, and the government is committed to ensuring that its online and digital services are as accessible as possible. And although there are globally recognised standards for digital accessibility, this is only part of design and inclusive service, and that is why we will be revising the government service standards to incorporate requirements covering wider issues of inclusion and looking at and extending their scope into the wider public sector.
Foodie.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I thank the Minister for that answer. Recently, I attended a roundtable of small businesses in the North East held at Sage, and a key theme was the need for good connections and digital services to help their businesses to grow. Digital connectivity, of course, is critical when it comes, and it often holds them back. Can the Minister tell me what the Government is doing to ensure that digital infrastructure is strong enough to support local businesses in constituencies like mine?
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank my honourable friend for that question. It is right that not only do we need to have good online accessible services, but businesses need to be able to connect to those services, and that's why the Government is committed to delivering nationwide gigabit connectivity coverage by 2030. And I'm glad to say that over 94% of premises in my honourable friend's constituency can access gigabit broadband, including the businesses that she refers to. But of course, I'm happy to meet the honourable friend to talk about what more we can do in this important area.
Jess Brown-Fuller.
The Sussex Bookshop is a new bookshop that's opened in Chichester City Centre. They opened in December. It's now February, and they are unable to connect to any sort of internet provision because Openreach are reporting there are no extra connections for the whole of the city centre. Does the Minister agree that reliable internet access is essential, especially for small businesses that have to operate both on the high street but also on an online platform? And what steps is she taking to ensure that those businesses have access now, not in 2030?
I think it's linked to the South East. I think that was the question.
I absolutely agree with the honourable member, and businesses across the country should be able to connect, especially in this day and age. But if the business and constituency continue to experience problems, my honourable friend, the Minister Bryant, will be happy to meet with her to discuss this issue further.
Liberal Democrat spokesperson Victoria Collins.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And indeed, digital services for small businesses is important across the country, North East, South East, wherever you are. But yet, the latest data shows that only around 15% of UK SMEs use AI, well behind other countries such as Denmark or Finland. So will the Minister commit to publishing a detailed adoption roadmap that could cover, for example, essential upskilling, data centre capacity, tech vouchers, so that small businesses can deploy AI without being locked out by cost and complexity?
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker, and I thank the honourable member for that question. She would have seen the AI Opportunities Action Plan, which sets out our aspiration for this country, including the opportunities for small businesses, and the fusion of AI across the economy is top of the agenda. And in the coming months, you will see more activity on how we're going to do that.
Campbell.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Question number 5.
Our aim is to phase out animal testing as soon as is practicable. We've been working closely with science, and that was a manifesto commitment of ours. We have been meeting with scientists and with other departments because it's not a sole responsibility of DCIT, and we intend to publish a strategy by the end of this year to make good on our manifesto commitment.
Irene Campbell.
I'm grateful to the Minister for his answer. I'm the chair of the APPG on phasing out animal experiments in medical research, where members from all parties can work together to push for scientific experiments which do not rely on animal cruelty and encourage a focus on non-animal replacement. Would the Minister meet with me and the APPG to discuss future plans and strategy for the manifesto commitment on phasing out animal testing?
I didn't know that she'd taken over the APBG. I think it's a really good thing that that exists, and we will work very closely with the APBG, whether I'm the right minister or there's a more intelligent minister who might be of more assistance to her, or a more charming one, perhaps, who might be of more assistance to her. I will make sure she gets all the ministers that she needs.
None of that's objective.
Mr Speaker, in my constituency of Huntingdon, I have 2 sites that form a key component of preclinical animal testing. LabCorp, where the testing takes place, and Marshall Bioresources, where the beagle puppies are bred and then tested on. Almost none survive the testing process. Whilst I do not support animal testing, I recognise that it is currently a necessary element of the preclinical testing process and cannot be phased out until non-animal methods have sufficient scope. The Minister for Science, Research and Innovation wrote to me in September outlining the government's approach to phasing out animal testing, but can the government publish a timeline of what tests will be phased out via NC3R's research work and when?
I can't provide him with that timeline now. We are working at pace on trying to put together a practicable policy and a strategy, which, as I said, we'll be publishing by the end of the year. He makes a perfectly good point about the complexities that there are. If the MHRA is to be able to meet its international commitments as well as our manifesto commitments, that's not going to be easy. So we are very happy to work with the sector as well as with other departments to be able to deliver this, and I'm happy to have a conversation with him if that would help.
Justice Satter.
Please, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I thank the honourable lady for the campaigning work she does on this subject, both as an individual MP, as a campaigner, and also chair of her important APPG. The Independent Pornography Review is wide-ranging and thorough piece of work which assessed the effectiveness of pornography legislation, regulation and enforcement, including online and offline regulation. The review is now concluded and the final report will be published in due course, and I'd like to put on the record my gratitude to Baroness Burton for her hard work.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Secretary of State for the answer. Online pornography sites are awash with content that depicts sexual activity with children. Adult performers are made to look like children through props such as stuffed toys and school uniforms. Popular search tags include homework, pigtails, teen and barely legal, and this content is often particularly violent. Videos also depict incest, such as sex between fathers and daughters and brothers and sisters, which are very prevalent. Child protection experts warn that this content, which is illegal offline, sexualises children and is driving demand for child sexual abuse material. Would the Secretary of State agree with me that we need urgent action following the pornography review to equalise online and offline content regulation in order to tackle violence against women and girls and shut down a gateway to paedophilic content?
Of course, I agree with her. There will be additional powers coming online via the Online Safety Act. I wish that those powers had come into force earlier. That was a legacy of the previous government. We have done everything we can to expedite those powers as quickly as we can. But from March and onwards, there will be powers that makes illegal extreme pornography illegal, requires sites to protect children from accessing pornography, child sexual abuse, and its related activity should not be called pornography. It is rape, and it should be called what it is, and we should do everything we can do to keep it offline.
Lauren Edwards.
Question number 7, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As detailed in the AI Opportunities Action Plan, AI growth zones will help secure UK's position as a global leader in AI, ensuring benefits are felt across the whole of the UK. And my honourable friend will be pleased to hear that on Monday we invited local and regional authorities, along with the industry, to come forward with potential suitable sites for hosting AI infrastructure.
I thank the Minister for her response. Rochester and Stroud is well placed to help drive the UK's AI economy. Positioned between London and mainland Europe, we have several net zero energy projects ready to go, with further plans for a data centre and battery storage, a council that is already using AI and which created an AI accelerator programme to support local businesses, and 3 university campuses that are driving innovation. So will the Minister meet with me to discuss my constituency's potential as a future AI growth zone?
Can I thank the member for strongly advocating for her constituency of Medway to potentially become an AI growth zone? And she will well know that the AI Opportunity Action Plan outlines steps we are taking so that UK can build the cutting-edge computer infrastructure needed to lead in AI development and deployment. And I eagerly look forward to reading the expressions of interest from members' constituency. And of course, I'll be more than happy to meet with her to discuss this in detail.
Jeremy Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Minister will be well aware that the growth of AI across the country depends on the ready supply of data and other content on which the models can be trained. She'll also recognise that much of that content comes from our creative industries, and she will know that our creative industries are profoundly troubled that they are not properly treated by the companies that are currently scraping that data without their permission or without proper compensation. I know the government will want to resolve that, and she will know that the data bill has had amendments added to it in the other place to address this. Does she intend that the government will resolve this by means of the data bill or by other means? If other means, what other means and when?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Right Honourable Member will know that there is ongoing consultation to look at clarifying the issues that covers both copyright and AI. And there will be a statement, as you know, this afternoon on the data bill, which will cover this issue in more detail. As you will also know, the consultation ends on the 25th of February, after which we'll be reviewing the responses to see what we need to do.
So, we come to topicals. Patrick Hurley.
Topical number 1, please, Mr. Speaker.
Secretary of State.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When it comes to embracing AI, Britain is leading the world. I have just got back from the Paris AI Action Summit. The companies I met there were genuinely excited about our AI Opportunities Action Plan. They were also optimistic about how we're using AI to build a smaller, smarter state. The new government digital service I launched last month will harness the power of technology to deliver efficient, convenient public services designed to work for working people.
Hurley.
In recent months, it's become obvious that some social media companies' algorithms are not being run in the pursuit of a commercial imperative, but rather in the service of the political interests of their host country. Can I ask the Minister if such politicised social media firms can be treated as such with a view to protecting the national interest?
I'm grateful for his question, but I'm also grateful for the leadership that he's shown in his community in Southport during extremely difficult times. The Online Safety Act applies to all people, all users, and that includes measures and in existing legislation to tackle misinformation peddled by foreign states. But he has a very specific challenge with his community. I'm willing to meet with him if he would like, and if he'd like to bring members of his own community to express to me directly the impact these issues have had on him and his community, I would be very willing to take that meeting.
Secretary of State Alan Back.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Conservatives secured a £450 million investment from AstraZeneca to expand their Merseyside vaccine factory. When the Chancellor wrecked the deal, AstraZeneca tried to save it by increasing that investment to over £500 million. So why did Labour still walk away, handing jobs and investment to our competitors?
The honourable gentleman says that they secured a deal. Well, the deal was announced in March. The general election was in July. Where was the deal? Where was the funding for it? Where was the written agreement? There was nothing.
Mr. Speaker, when Labour negotiates, Britain loses. AstraZeneca are investing over £4 billion in Singapore, the US and Canada. They could have invested in our country too. What is Labour doing now to bring back the deal they destroyed?
There was a deal by WhatsApp that was never followed up by the Treasury, never followed up by ministers, no meetings between AstraZeneca and their government. Their government lets Britain down every time, which is why the country turned to Labour, and Labour is delivering.
Mr. Speaker, the Payment Systems Regulator found that more than half of bank transfer scams recorded in 2023 originated on Facebook, Instagram or WhatsApp. What progress has the Secretary of State made in making sure that tech companies are held to account for fraud originating on their platforms?
He makes a very good point. It's one of the things that we specifically need to look at later when we move forward with the data bill in committee. Perhaps he'll be sitting on the bill committee. Who knows?
David Reid.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister has just held talks for a UK-EU defence and security partnership, of which the development of artificial intelligence will have been a key theme. However, last night the UK chose not to join with EU countries in signing the international agreement on AI. So can the Secretary of State please explain this dissonance in the government's approach?
At the Paris summit, let me congratulate firstly President Macron for laying on an incredible summit that brought together governments, tech companies and investors, and Britain's voice was heard loud and clear, which is why we're delivering such extraordinary investment into this country. They're most of the aspects that were negotiated, the Labour government signed up to and was fully engaged in. In a few areas, we will put Britain's interest first, and a couple of other countries didn't sign to. I don't hear him criticising them.
Just Southwell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In Ilford, we worked with Queen Mary University to launch a new satellite campus in Ilford to teach medicine and dentistry. Given the growing importance of education in STEM fields, what specific steps is the Secretary of State taking to increase educational opportunities in this area and in London and across the country?
I'm grateful for his question. The government is working to develop a world-leading science and technology skills base that will drive economic growth and opportunity for all. We're committed to expanding the access and participation in science and technology education, and we're partnering with universities to build the skills and workforce across the United Kingdom.
Hurry across.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A month ago, the Prime Minister said that countries will either be AI makers or AI takers. Does the Minister agree that, given that the Prime Minister didn't attend the AI Safety Summit, but he's given a clear indication that the UK will be an AI taker?
This Prime Minister has delivered the AI Opportunities Action Plan. This Prime Minister is deploying AI technology and productivity tools across government itself. This Prime Minister has brought in £30 billion in investment into digital AI infrastructure since he became Prime Minister. And at the same time, this Prime Minister is sorting out the mess left after 14 years of Tory rule.